This autophagy expert's routine will shock you. It's not what you expect. That's something I'm going to talk about today, so stick around. Hi, my name is Hachiaki Takamiya, a 62-year-old biohacker based on Japanese natural health and the author of Live Wiser, Not Smarter. Do you know this man? He is Dr. Yoshinori Ohsumi, who is a Japanese cell biologist who won the 2016 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for his discoveries of mechanisms for autophagy. What is autophagy? Autophagy is a cellular recycling mechanism, which is a keyword in health and longevity at the moment, because our cells are damaged, but autophagy is a function that can regenerate the damaged cell. So this is a very important process, but as we get older, this function deteriorates and you need to keep activating it. Now, Dr. Ohsumi is still a leading expert in Japan, but he hasn't been so vocal. There's another person who has been vocal, and that is Dr. Tamotsu Yoshimori, who was the assistant of Dr. Ohsumi. In fact, they were in the same laboratory conducting the same research. So when Dr. Ohsumi received the Nobel Prize, Dr. Yoshimori accompanied him and attended the ceremony in Norway. And Dr. Yoshimori has been very vocal in the field of autophagy, and he has published many books in Japan. So now definitely he is leading authority on autophagy research in Japan. And I talked about him in my book, Ikigai Biohacking, in chapter 1. I introduced his book, Life Science. You might remember about him if you read the book. So, don't you want to know his daily routine? He has an interesting routine. Also, he is 66 years old, which is relevant for many of you who are watching this channel in your 60s. So his routine can be a great role model for many of you. So if you want to find out his daily routine, please watch the video until the end. Now, those of you who just discovered this video today, this is the Ikigai Diet channel, which is a health and longevity channel. We usually cover things like diet, exercise, mindset, and sometimes we cover Japanese blue zones because there are several blue zones in Japan other than Okinawa, and we cover from traditional Japanese health method to modern Japanese health trend, such as Chokatsu. So basically, this is a channel about how to increase health span for people over 50 or 60. So if you're interested, please subscribe to this channel. Now, first, let's find out what kind of activities can activate autophagy. Fasting is one, exercise is another, and heat and cold exposure for a certain degree. What about Dr. Yoshimori? What does he say about activities to activate autophagy? So he says you can practice Hara Hachibunme, which means stop eating when you are 80% full. So the idea is to create some empty stomach period. So he says you don't need to practice intermittent fasting, but eat less. In this way, you can create this empty stomach period and also have dinner early. In other words, don't go to bed with full stomach. So you want to finish eating dinner a few hours before going to bed so that you can sleep with empty stomach. And then autophagy is activated during your sleep. So you want to optimize your sleep a lot if you want to activate autophagy. And also he says, avoid high-fat diet. This is because you don't want to increase Rubicon, which can inhibit autophagy. Rubicon is the enemy of autophagy, according to him. In fact, Dr. Yoshimori is the one who discovered the mechanism of Rubicon. And a high-fat diet can increase Rubicon. He doesn't specify what a high-fat diet is, but in Japan, generally speaking, if someone says a high-fat diet, you're talking about fried food, greasy food such as fried chicken, French fries, that kind of thing. So avoid any of that. But he doesn't talk about healthy fats such as avocado oil or omega-3. So I don't know. But I think what he means is, generally speaking, avoid a greasy, like a fried food. And also moderate aerobic exercise such as walking. And there are certain foods that can activate autophagy, or actually there are certain nutrients that can activate autophagy. For example, spermidine in natto, cheese, and shiitake is the one. And also astaxanthin in shrimp can also activate autophagy. Okay, so what about his daily routine then? So he goes to bed at 11 p.m. and he gets up at 7 a.m. So he sleeps for 8 hours. By the way, this is exactly the same as my routine. I go to bed at 11 and I get up at 7. But in his case, he has breakfast right away. So he has 3 meals a day. In other words, he doesn't practice intermittent fasting or he doesn't practice breakfast skipping. He regards breakfast to be very important. And he has early dinner. So he kind of eats between 6 to 7 or 6 to 7:30, which is the same with me. I usually eat between 6 and 7. And he has a bath before that, actually. But rest is just, he works. Oh, by the way, he goes to work by bicycle. He commutes to work by bicycle. And it's one way is about 4 kilometers, which is about 2.5 miles. And so that's something he doesn't really list it here, but that's what he does. And also, this is his weekly routine during the week, not on the weekend. So on the weekend, he spends a lot of time practicing for marathon and trail running. He enjoys taking part in marathon race and doing trail running. So he runs a lot on the weekend. Um, but when you look at this, it's not so special, is it? It is surprising in a way that it's rather kind of simple. It's not a hardcore biohacking routine. Like, for example, my routine, after getting up, I take a cold shower, like a 90-second cold shower. Then I do the morning exercise. So I go jogging 3 times a week. And other days, I practice Qigong and I do strength training. I exercise 6 days a week. And then I usually do the morning sunlight exposure too. When I go jogging, I combine it with the morning sunlight exposure. And when I don't go jogging too, I usually go to my yard and do the morning sunlight exposure. So, I mean, compared to that, it looks rather simple, but I think this is sufficient. This is reasonably healthy compared to average people, because what happens is most people don't get 8 hours sleep. Many people go to bed around 12 or 1 o'clock, and then they have just 6 or 7 hours sleep. Their diet isn't good, and they don't exercise at all. They lead a sedentary lifestyle, not moving so much. So compared to that, this is a well-balanced, healthy lifestyle. And at the same time, it is doable. It is sustainable for busy people. If you have a work, you cannot make time to exercise every day. So I think combining cycling and commuting is a good idea. It's something doable for many people. And instead, you can exercise on the weekend. So that is also doable for many people too. So in many ways, many people can duplicate his routine. So that is the good things about this routine. And in fact, he doesn't like extreme. He doesn't think you need to do too much. And one thing he says is avoid stress. And he says, if you're health conscious, sometimes it can add stress into your life. So don't be too health conscious, he says. If you're too health conscious, that can create stress and that can become harmful. He say, don't make rules, just relax and enjoy life. Yeah, I agree with him. I mean, you know that I don't like making rules. So with the same principle, basically, so he was in this program. In fact, he was interviewed in this kind of YouTube program. So that's the MC. So when he said the stress is bad, you don't be too health conscious, the MC made a comment. He made an interesting comment. So in his observation too, that is the same. When he looks at centenarian, they didn't make an effort to be healthy or they didn't try to live longer. They just ended up living longer simply by enjoying their life. Now, that is interesting because that's the same with other fields too. When you talk about successful people, most people succeed not because they study the success formula, but because they are passionate about whatever they are doing and they just enjoyed their job or their career and ended up becoming successful. So maybe that is the same in the field of health and longevity. You don't need to be too health conscious. Now, it changes from person to person, of course, because based on my observation, when you become health conscious, there are two patterns. One is you become successful because you're health conscious, you study a lot, you gain the knowledge, and then you implement your knowledge into your daily life. You basically have a strong will. You kind of do everything you need to do, and you even know about stress. So you find a way to shed stress or find ways that is not stressful for you. So those people can be successful by becoming health conscious. But also, there are a group of people who kind of lose balance by becoming too health conscious. You kind of do too much, or because you're perfectionist, you're never satisfied. So mentally, you always feel you're missing something, you're kind of lacking something, and you're not really enjoying your life because of it. Then that can become a problem. Also, it depending on what kind of lifestyle you have been leading up to this point. If you're starting to practice healthy lifestyle now, it depending on how you have been living so far. If you have had a bad diet, didn't exercise at all, then you need to do more. You need to do more to recover. But if you have been leading a relatively healthy lifestyle, maybe Dr. Yoshimori's routine is sufficient. You don't need to do anything special. So my suggestion is first, study, understand the strategies in detail to understand what kind of activity can activate autophagy or any other thing that is good for your health and longevity. First, study. So understand what kind of diet, but in detail, not just vaguely. Like, for example, when you say a high fat diet, what do you mean? What kind of fat you should avoid and what kind of fat you can welcome and so on? To study the diet in detail and then study the exercise. What kind of exercises are good and duration, how long and frequency, how often you need to do. And what about fasting? When you say fasting, you don't need to fast, but what do you mean? Like how long is it when you talk about fasting? And also sleep. How to optimize your sleep. So you want to sleep for 8 hours, but what else? What else can you do to optimize your sleep? And then what about heat exposure and cold exposure, the timing, when to do them, how long to do them, how often to do them. and brain optimization too. What kind of activity can stimulate your brain and so on. You need to study the basics first. And the best way to do it, read my book, Live Wiser, Not Smarter. And you customize it to be sustainable. You customize it to your liking, your situation, the regimen that you can practice comfortably, you can kind of enjoy doing it. Because some of the things are redundant. Some of the information redundant. You don't need to do all of them. The reason why there are so many is so that you can choose. It doesn't mean you have to do everything. Yeah, so customize it. The process of customizing is very important. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Again, my name is Hachiaki Takamiya, the author of Live Wiser, Not Smarter. If you like this video, please give me your thumb up and subscribe to my channel. And please leave your comment. What is your daily routine? Now, I said the problem of becoming too health conscious is that you can create stress. But there is another problem of becoming too health conscious. And if you want to know that, please watch this video.